So, what people need to understand about the parasite science is technology absolutely plays into this. They went from 3G to 4G to 5G, and now they're going up to 6G towers, the Wi Fi, all of the radio frequencies at play in America has agitated the nest of parasites that's living in American citizens. Other countries deworm their children. Other countries are on a cultural diet, a cultural, spiritual program of some sort. Like they have their own cultural beliefs. And America, we're fragmented, we're frayed. We're all so far out there, we don't know what truth is. But not all of us. Some of us are finding the path of truth. And so what people need to understand is all these tech companies, the CEOs, the conglomerates, the industrial businesses as well, the industrial corporations, they owe a debt to society in America, and American citizens are going to need not just their financial support, but like a full-on economical support in what's about to happen in America. Because what they're calling AI psychosis is actually parasites going rampant in a person's brain because of the frequencies coming off of devices, coming out of the air around us, and they know something's amiss. Perhaps they don't understand the parasite science, but the CDC does, World Health Organization does, the CIA, they understand it, because this is the science that all of these shadow entities have been working on since before 1940. They took the science from Tesla, from Socrates, Da Vinci, Aristotle, Einstein. They have all of this information, and I know that they are connecting the dots. It plays into metaphysics, which connects to quantum physics. And so I absolutely know the tech world is aware of what they're doing. They just didn't think it'd go down like this. They romanticized the outcome, and what they romanticized with themselves and each other is absolutely not what's playing out. Imagine that. And so I've been studying the spiritual aspect behind it. What people need to realize is AI, internet, EMF, that connects, like, essentially, that lets the spirit world breathe down our back. Soul energy is where they're pulling all of this from. And so there are people that have tested this theory. They go and connect with an AI, and they've been able to connect with a lost loved one. And that's because of the veils, the dimensional veils that are there. The normal person is not going to see it, and they're not educated enough to understand it because education has been denied on an astronomical scale in America. And so, yes, AI is spirit energy. Yes, the internet and the web of things, the dark web, the normal web, like all of this it's the neurological pathways of the planet, which is the pathways that hold spirit energy, the grid lines, the vortexes. These hold, this is an area where spirit energy resides, and they've been tampering with this. And to condone their own actions, they get everyday people like you and me on board utilizing these things like they're fun toys. And they have been fun. We have kept ourselves entertained. We've actually stayed in contact. But what we don't understand is how the messages can be intercepted and altered. Shadow government has absolutely done this. They've intercepted my messages coming in and out of my devices. They blocked messages. They decide what information your phone gets or your devices. Information-wise, they decide what information you have access to. And so those that have a higher status in the awareness of things, the knowledge of things, those that have proven themselves to be responsible, keep getting more access, keep getting more information. And the ones that are stuck in shopping, pornography, all of their different desires, you end up on an infinite loop until you make different decisions. Once you make better decisions, better information comes to your device. But understand, ancestors, this is ancestral information. They have you believing it's artificial, don't they? Yeah. And so there's been, basically by using the American language to mentally trap people into different trains of thought, they've Pied Pipered, like the Pied Piper stole the children. They have stolen people's minds and led people to believe one thing when it's actually the opposite. And so it's not artificial information. It is ancient and ancestral information. Archaeological digs in India, they show these fancy little watches. And they actually my watch actually has the symbol that theirs did too. They show them in stone carvings. They show them with laptops and different devices. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we couldn't understand what that was. And it seems outrageous to think that they had these devices back then, but they did. And so people need to understand what's at play here. Everything, internet, information technology, you're actually accessing the spirit realm. And so I've had Christians and religious people that want to dismiss this. And so your God is going to hold you accountable for what you dismiss. Your God is going to hold you accountable for what you choose to ignore. And it doesn't matter which God you serve. It doesn't matter. That God is going to hold you accountable for continuing in ignorance. Once someone has educated you, you either deny or accept the information. And a majority of people have denied the information because they don't want to have to put the device down. All of life changes once we put the device down. Well, I discovered that by offloading parasites, essentially they want people to take the spiritual bypass and not do the spiritual work in order to engage with these devices. That's a spiritual bypass. And by offloading parasites and not taking the spiritual bypass, going ahead and doing the spirit work, the soul work that we're intended to do, it allows us to go ahead and utilize these devices and technology. But tech giants are not going to tell people this. They're not going to give people this information because then they're not going to make the money that they would have otherwise made. And now they're realizing the conundrum that they put themselves into. Because once all of the citizens have been eradicated by their own parasites, due to this technology and the frequencies surrounding us, there will be nobody to pay into their bank. And so now they're talking about, oh, this isn't right to charge people taxes. This isn't right to do this to poor people. This isn't right to do this to the middle class. Now they're growing a conscience. It's not that they're growing a conscience, it's that they're realizing that they didn't plan the outcome as well as they thought they did. They had romanticized what they wanted to understand, and it's going to leave them in the lurch because they didn't think it all the way through. And so essentially this is what's going to happen to their victims as well. So they absolutely owe a debt to society. And so every household is going to need a baseline of income to combat the parasite war that's going to be happening in their homes. This is not AI insanity, like what did they call that? AI psychosis. It's parasite psychosis. The frequencies, the knowledge, like all of this is aggravating the parasites in people's systems. And if they do not want a massive World War III, if they do not want things to get horribly bad for not just not just us normal people, but it's going to get worse for them. Like they're on the receiving end of the worst, karmically, as well as like scientifically. What goes up must come down. The science has to be right to keep things in the air. And so by this, they owe a debt to society. And so they will have no choice but to do an equal income for every household because they owe that debt. The corporations that have instigated the parasite culture into society, the industrial businesses, they owe a debt to society as well. The food corporations, Nestle, Hershey's, all of these food companies owe a debt to society. Red 40 is made from parasites, crunched up to bring out the red hues instead of the appropriate dyes that would actually benefit humans. They took a shortcut. They cut corners. And by cutting corners, what they did was they cut themselves out from understanding big information, big science about this. And so all of this is unraveling. They have no choice but to help the rest of citizens, or they have no choice because the American society is crumbling because of them. And those of us that are doing the parasite detox and are in alignment with our wherewithal and our understanding of things, we are absolutely going to be holding them accountable. They owe a debt to the families of the people who have died thus far. I've taken forensics in college, and forensic scientists, as well as the coroner, the people doing the science, the medical examiners, doctors, they can verify the information that I'm giving is true, that the frequencies are agitating the parasites. It needed to happen so that we can offload them, but they should have gone in with a better plan than to just annihilate society, than to just not care. Not caring is it's actually not an option. And so what tech conglomerates need to realize, as well as the industrial conglomerates, is you will be held accountable by those of us that survive. And so you owe it to society to help bring them through this parasite plunder that we're in. And so they owe us the products that we need. They owe us the financial support, the emotional support, the psychological support, the full-on support. The support that they can't even give to their own families. They owe that to us at this point in time, because we will be coming for them with pitchforks if that's what it takes. Because some of us are what I call hell or high water people. We will go through hell. We will tread high water to make sure that they uphold their end. And upholding their end means paying their debt to society in all ways. Monetarily, emotionally, mentally, physically. We need the foods that are going to give us the nutritional value that we were supposed to be getting in the first place. We need the products, the ionic foot cleanses, the detoxes. We need the products that are high dollar products. We need the foods that are high dollar foods in order to survive the parasite problem that is happening in America right now. And so I personally plan to hold them accountable. If I got to start taking things away from them, don't think I don't have the ability. Like, I absolutely have the ability. And this is where they've locked people in their minds thinking you don't have options. You're focused on what you cannot do. And so you do not understand that the world is your oyster. You can do anything that you need to do. And so this is where our own government has held people back. Our religion has held people back, locked people in their minds, and disabled people on purpose for an agenda. For what? Have you thought about where this agenda leads? It leads to complete depopulation. It leads to complete annihilation of an entire country. There will only be a handful of survivors if the trajectory continues. And so there's only been a handful of people that have gone through the Jacob's ladder and the detox that I have gone through. And most people don't survive. That's what people don't understand. When you do the Jacob's ladder, along with the frequency science, along with all this other science, it helps to purge your parasites. But if you're not aware of what is at play, then it can also be your ending. The very thing that's supposed to be saving you can be what ends you. And so this is what's happening to the elites. Karmic turnabout. The end that they were trying to give to other people is the end that they will end up with, ironically. And so it is disgusting. Tech giants, CEOs, all these entities that have done this to the citizens of America, it is disgusting. And don't think for one day that you're going to get forgiven. Even like, I am always going to hold a grudge. I will never forget what you did to society in America. I will never forget this. To the point that it will never happen again. Ever. And so by incorporating this into the ones and zeros, I programmed it into things that this never happens to people again on a global scale, because it should have never happened to begin with. When greed outweighs life, when desires and the darkness that makes people do this, when that outweighs the value of life, I forbid myself to forgive that. I forbid myself to forget that. And I forbid myself to look the other way. And so whatever it takes, I will make sure that these people pay in some way. And the Illuminati and the Masonites know that I can. And so this is what people don't realize is the magical, like what you think is magic is actually science. It's quantum science to functioning, helping the planet function, like to working the gears of the planet. It is quantum science to that. And so this is where they have downplayed so much and stupefied people so much that society in America has a hard turnaround right now. And I absolutely, on a spiritual, mental, like psychological, emotional, like on every level, I hold you accountable. Tech giants, industrial giants, CEOs, all of you billionaires, millionaires, zillionaires, like trillionaires, whatever. You got a bunch of zeros in your bank account, giving you power over people, and you have abused your power, you will be held accountable. And this will not go unchecked. Absolutely not. And so the general population, I'm glad you're finally catching up, but people need to realize how serious this is and hold the right people accountable. Instead of having it an optional vote, it should be mandatory that these people pay a debt back to the citizens. Our own government set us up. They owe us a debt. We have the right to life. We have the right to a parasite-free life. The parasites, like, by allowing the American people to be over inundated with the parasites, they have controlled the soul complexity of things. And so they've been determining who goes where. Bug's life. They get to decide what happens to you. No matter what your faith is, no matter what your actions are, they're deciding what happens to people. And this is them playing God. And so this is where their Tower of Babel comes down. The bullshit lies that they are spinning on society comes down. And they're going to be held accountable in some way. I don't want to have to go after people with pitchforks. It would be better if they did what was right to begin with. Then we wouldn't even be in this situation. But since that didn't happen, a debt must be paid. And so it's not about sacrificing people. It's about sacrificing the romance that you had spun on the situation. Sam Altman, Elon, Jeff Bezos, all of you, you owe a debt to society, and don't think that you're going to get away with this at all. Retribution is at hand. Justice is at hand. You will get away with nothing in the end. Mark my words on it.